Chapter 14, the first apostolic endeavors. After the first steps of the inner transformation of Saul, he is in Tarsus, working, as Emmanuel says, as a simple workman. His features, his facial expressions, his facial features are changed. Of course, as we change inside, outside will display some of these changes as well. Now the doctor of the law is changed to a simple man because Gamaliel suggested to him, be simple. Let's work on simplicity. And he did. And he decided, as beautiful as it is, Emmanuel describes to us that he got up every morning aiming to love everything and everybody. Abigail's advice was a permanent message for his soul. He worked as hard as he could to continue on the straight and narrow. And then one day, this day was after 3 years he was there. And one day, Simon Peter sent Barnabas from Antioch to meet Paul, saying, Saul, he was still Saul at the time, Saul, we have many workers, but educated workers at our church are scarce, so we need you. We open a parenthesis here. When we are ready, we'll be called to work. This is a good teaching for us at Spiritist centers as well. And everywhere in life, we shall not feel anguished. Let's love. Let's reach out. And naturally, other tasks will be presented to us. So, he was there talking to Barnabas about the immense struggles they were facing. They were joyful inside, but trying to work out a plan. And he realized in many learnings that he had to face that for his first missionary journey, he had to have a plan. This is the route of his journey. From Syria in Antioch, he went to Cyprus, where Paphos was, and then to Pisidia in Galatia, other cities in Galatia, and then Cilicia, Cappadocia, close to Cilicia and Cappadocia, where he was before. There, he discovered his own potential and showed us our endurance potential as well. From someone who had everything to being selfless. And he teaches us 3 main elements in Emmanuel's own words: working with humility, discipline and spirit of service, and selfless mission. Meaning he would keep himself as a simple workman, as a weaver, tent maker, if you will, and at the same time, in the free time, he would bring consolation and healing together with Barnabas. But let's not think that straightforward he was there preaching as beautifully as he did before. No, he didn't. Emmanuel teaches us that the words missed whenever he wanted to do so. So he learned he had to do low-profile work, reaching out to people who were in need, who were sick, and keep loving everyone whom he met, while Barnabas and others were preaching. And in this mission, he also, in conversations with Barnabas, seeing the struggles of Simon Peter with the Jews at the time that were trying to impose those rites and rituals into the new movement of the way, then he decides, Barnabas, I have an idea. And he says something very interesting. Barnabas, I think this idea is coming for me from on high, because I don't believe that Christianity will attain its purposes if we put our hope solely in the Jews, who are inflexible, constricted in the pride of the law. Jesus stated that his disciples would come from the east and the west. We who can foresee the storm, and I especially who am aware of its paroxysms, for having played the role of persecutor, need to attract these disciples. What I mean, Barnabas, is that we must go to the Gentiles, wherever they may find, They may be found. Only this way will the Christian movement acquire the character of universality. So this is the greatest insight that Saul brings to us. He says we must go beyond what we actually expect. And he recognized that this inspiration is coming from on high. Who are the Gentiles for us? John Mark later on is going to tell us, these people are strange. They don't believe in one God. They have many superstitions. And nowadays we still have the same type of, Gentile sometimes inside of us. When we mix everything with everything else and we don't really homogenize our relationship with God. So this is also an inspiration for us as we learn from him that in this movement to reach out to the Gentiles, we need to illuminate our souls, because he was talking about, should we help the sick? Should we teach them about Jesus? And he said, look, we'll always have people who are in need and who are sick for us to help. But he teaches us something that is very important. The illumination of the soul must take precedence for us as well. Most important is to teach us to fish. And in this very chapter, we have Luke, the physician who gets to meet Saul and others and gives a beautiful suggestion. He says the impositions of the time and says, how about if we label, instead of men of the way, we're all Christians. And he says that with the most genuine appeal, because it says this label will remind us of the Master's presence. Why is this important? It is important because historically at the time, they were being crushed by the movement around them of the persecutions. They didn't want to create a separate sect. They just needed to identify themselves with the message that happened at the time. But nowadays, we are separating ourselves. Those who claim they are Christians, unfortunately, they are forgetting the foundation of the message, which is the Master himself. So, as we prepare for the continuation of the reflections of this most important chapter in this book, one of the longest, let us now propose that we take sometimes a crayon or a coloring pencil or something, and let's draw what this makes us feel. What would be for us to express Christ's message? What would be it in a drawing format? And then, how would you go to the Gentile? Sometimes the Gentile inside of ourselves. Let us prepare for the continuation of this chapter 14.